And welcome. David Levin here, Raising Your Game Today. This is Tuesday, so we're talking about the mental game of sports and competition. Fridays are for the rest of our lives. This week, I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, if you don't know, is a star baseball player for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's probably an understatement that he's merely a star. He's more of a super mega star. Came over from the California Angels this season. It's hard to get your head around how great this guy actually is. First, he's both an outstanding pitcher and a hitter. That is very rare. Pitchers are typically bad hitters, but he's great at both. Interesting backstory on that. He decided to wait to play in the majors here because none of the teams he was talking to would let him play both positions. So he stayed in Japan for an extra few seasons to prove that he could do both. That's a baller move. But just to give you an idea how good he is, he hit a milestone this week that no other player has ever done. 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in a single season. Why are those two things tracked together, home runs and stolen bases? I have no idea. Baseball is a little weird with statistics. But only two other players in history have hit those two numbers in any season, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. No one has ever done it in the same season. And in the game where he hit that mark this week, he hit 6 for 6. 6 times at plate, 6 hits. And 3 of those home runs. 10 runs batted in, 2 bases stolen. I mean, it literally doesn't sound possible. Hitting in Major League Baseball is considered maybe the hardest skill in all of sports. The best players in history, Hall of Fame players, will average basically 3 out of 10 over their career. So they fail 70% of the time, and those are the very best. That's how hard it is. He hit 6 for 6, 100%, with 3 of them being home runs. Also, baseball, sort of like golf, is a tough mental game sport because you have all that time between at-bats to think and get stuck in your head. And for him, in some ways, it's even harder. He signed literally the biggest contract in the history of sports this year. Any player, any sport, $700 million over 10 years. That's insane. Maybe obscene, though that's a different subject. And of course, that's great for him, but it adds a lot of extra weight and pressure on him to justify that. On top of that, as he's chasing this 50-50 record, people are watching everything. Every time he comes to bat, everyone's on their feet with their camera out. The press is constantly asking him about it. The level of attention and scrutiny and pressure is just off the charts. And yet he continues to come through and play at that unbelievable level. How does a player do that? First, of course, you have to have an incredible level of skill, just your physical talents and skills. This is another interesting detail. He had a couple of rough seasons back in 2019, 2020, injuries, just not performing at the level he wanted. So he spent that offseason pushing himself to an even higher level, changed his diet, trained differently, trained harder, tried new things. So again, already a super rare talent, but had that attitude to keep pushing to an even higher level skill-wise. So you have to have the skills and you have to keep pushing. But you also have to have a killer mental game, right? And he obviously has that too. One of his coaches said, he's aware of all the things going on around him, but the difference is the ability to block it out and still go execute with all the noise surrounding him. That's what a killer mental game looks like, being able to block everything out, both external and internal, all the noise, and focus on execution in the moment. But I really want to emphasize again that you need both skills and mental game. Strong mental game, okay physical skills. Best day, you'll play okay, right? You play up to your skills. Great skills, okay mental game, also just going to play okay, right? The mental game sets your upper limit on your performance. But killer skills and killer mental game, now you're playing at your absolute best and doing it consistently. So how do you do that? On the skill side, of course, there's plenty of information out there. Talk to your coach, do a Google search, pick some drills, get to work on that. On the mental side, there's not nearly as much information available. And the stuff that is out there, honestly, isn't that helpful. It's all the typical sports psychology stuff. Believe in yourself, focus, don't get distracted, forget about that mistake. Basically telling you what to do, but not how to actually do it. The real skill you need to learn is something called cognitive control, which just means you learn to direct your thoughts intentionally rather than letting them just jump around like they tend to do. That's the actual skill that gives you this kind of mental focus. And developing it is how you unleash your full potential as a player. Now, in Shohei's case, he seems to just naturally have it. And with a lot of the great players, that's what you see. They're just born differently, or they figure out for themselves how to do it, how to block out all the distractions and stay perfectly focused on what needs to be done. For the rest of us, we need to learn it. The good news is you can do it. It's a learnable skill, and it's actually surprisingly easy to learn if you have the right kind of system and approach. So you can definitely do it, and just imagine the difference it would make to have a mental game like that. If you're an adult rec player like me, it'll help you be more consistent and have more fun. And that's really what we're looking for, is to play well enough to have fun. If you are a youth athlete hoping to play in college or higher, this is the key to getting where you want to go. First of all, it'll give you an edge over your competitors as it gets harder and harder to get on those teams. More important, the pressure you have to deal with only increases the higher up you go. This guy has been at the peak of his sport for probably 20 years now, as a junior, all the way through school, early pro career, standout player all the way. But you can bet there's been nothing like the pressure he's felt these past weeks. And if he didn't have the mental game to deal with that, he wouldn't be there in the first place, and he certainly wouldn't be doing what he's doing now. So that's the lesson from Shohei Ohtani. If you want to be your best, commit yourself to working on both your outer and your inner game in equal measure. Keep pushing those physical skills. There's always further you can go with that, and make sure your mental game keeps up, because that is the limiting factor on your ultimate performance and success. To learn more about our mental game training and how it can help you do that, there's a link here in the notes, RaiseYourGame.com. By the way, ours is the only practical training anywhere in how to develop cognitive control, this core skill we've been talking about. In any case, that is our Shohei Ohtani mental game lesson. To play at your highest level, work on your physical and mental skills in equal measure. I hope that was helpful. Thank you. Keep up the good work. I'll see you next time.